Service your existing car with us right now.
And it's worth £500 off your next car.
Yes, at Macklin Motors Toyota, we'll give you a £500 voucher off any of our brand new Toyotas when you book in for a service with our expert Toyota trained technicians.
We even have complimentary courtesy cars available, so book your service now and get £500 off any new Toyota.
Visit macklinmotors.co.uk or see us at Kennishead Road, Darnley.
Macklin Motors, the new name for Toyota sales and servicing in Glasgow.
Valid on services till 30th September. Excludes Motability and fleet customers. One £500 voucher per vehicle purchased by 31st December.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go!
Good evening. Ange Postecoglou promises more signings for Celtic fans despite 6 games undefeated pre-season. A 2-0 win for them against Norwich on Saturday. As Joe Hart reveals simple Ange message before each game: why not make this game the best you've ever played in? We'll discuss that with Mark Guidi in a moment or two. Across the city is Alfredo Morales about to sign a new contract with Rangers, as GVB wants another signing in this week before the big kick-off this weekend. And just in from the Premier Sports Cup, the second round, it's going to be Rangers against Queen of the South on the Tuesday night. That's August the 30th at Ibrox. And then the following night, 24 hours later, Ross County against the holders Celtic. Mark, first of all, those 2 games, we find out when they are, and that's going to come at a really crucial time for both teams.
Yeah, it's probably right at the end of the month. Rangers, as you say, at home to Queen of the South on the Tuesday night, live in the telly. Celtic away to Ross County for the second time in August on the Wednesday night, and then into the first derby of the season at Celtic Park. That's Celtic v Rangers on the Saturday afternoon, and hopefully the following midweek we'll have both of them in the Champions League. Celtic assured of their place, of course, and by then we'll know if Rangers are in it, and they will play in either September the 5th or 6th. So Paul, it's a great calendar already. We've been speaking about it tonight in the office. We can't wait to get started on Saturday, and you look at all the fixtures the first 5-6 weeks of the season, some real tough ones in there.
4 sleeps to go for Rangers fans, for Livy against Rangers, and also for Hearts Ross County. Kilmarnock back in the big time against Dundee United, and St Johnstone against Hibs. And then Sunday, 5 sleeps away, St Mirren Motherwell and Celtic against Aberdeen. Can't wait, Mark. I mean, seems a while since the end of last season, but there's been something happening almost every day.
Yeah, there's been some great on paper, but we get to see it yet.
Here's one here.
Competitive games.
Can I give you?
Yeah.
Here is one just breaking. Rangers are delighted to announce the signing of the Turkish international Ridvan Yilmaz. We've spoken about it since Friday. It's a 5-year deal. He's come from Besiktas, as you know. The left back joins Rangers for an undisclosed fee, subject to international clearance and the work permit process being concluded. Just in.
Yilmaz is a player that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has wanted, Paul. He's been on the radar for several weeks. And again, it's an indication of how serious Rangers are about progressing in Europe and getting the title back from Celtic. They've brought in a lot of money, close to £30 million for Aribo and Bassi. I'll need to do my sums, but I think that's invested more than £10 million now during this transfer window. So Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has a look of a right good squad. Now interesting to see what happens with Yilmaz and Barisic, just as it will at Celtic Park with Bernabei and Taylor on that left hand side. But both managers must be happy with the way things are taking shape ahead of the big kick-off this weekend.
It's incredible, isn't it? Both of them have been so active, and we'll hear from Ange Postecoglou saying there could be a couple more signings, because when you look at the team at the weekend and then they virtually changed it in the second half, Celtic could field 2 strong first teams.
Yeah, they can, and so can Rangers, and I think that's why, Paul, you probably, I would describe it as there's some excess fat around about both squads, and they'll trim it down in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I think players will go on loan. They'll probably sell a couple. I don't think there'll be any like a Bassi or an Ariba. I don't see anything like that. At Celtic, I can't see them selling anybody that you would consider a proper first team starter. There's a wee bit of speculation about Juranovic a couple of weeks ago. That's quickly disappeared. But there's boys on both sides, probably 3 or 4 that we could think of that are going to be, if you like, squad numbers 23, 24, 25, 26 and 27, and they're not really going to get a look in. So there's as well going out, going on loan somewhere, or else going away somewhere permanently.
It's been an open day today at Rangers after that. A 2-1 defeat is no disgrace to Tottenham. We'll talk about that in a moment or two. And Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has given a great exclusive interview to Sky Sports Scotland, which we can play some of tonight, Mark. So it'll be good to hear from the manager.
Today, good coverage.
Yep.
I watched it today from Sky Sports.
Yep.
I was watching Sky Sports.
You Go Radio in one
today.
ear and then Sky Sports in the other. Listen to Alan Shaw.
Absolutely, Paul. I did.
It's actually good times, isn't it? And reading some of the stuff as we get ready. And this Friday, you'll be giving us your predictions. We're going to ask everybody in the team what are your predictions for this coming season. Yeah, who's going to be
the dreaded night?
Yeah, Victor Ledorum. Who's going to be the winner of the games come May next year? And also, who's going to be at the other end of the table? And already there's pressure because of the Premier Sports Cup coming so early. Lee Johnson's criticised it big time already. Of course, Hibs are out, St Mirren are out, and so are St Johnstone.
Yeah.
So it's tough, isn't it? There's no breathing space at the top for the managers.
No, there's not. There's some big fallers, Paul. Hibs, St Johnstone, and St Mirren wouldn't have expected that. Credit to the teams who have gone through, who have a kind of giant killing act, if you like. But right away, it's not the ideal start for the Premiership sides, and they need to get themselves together and get things in order in time for this weekend's kickoff.
Right, let's hear from GVB. He'll also be talking about who's going to be the number one goalkeeper. Do you think you know who it's going to be?
Well,
I don't need the answer just now, but do you think you know?
Well, I know who I would go for.
Okay, we'll find out in a moment or two. Let's hear first of all about Alfredo Morales. We haven't seen him since Mark? April, the hip injury. But he is back in training, as we know. And there's also, more than speculation, the management speaking about his contract.
Well, I mean, it's I'm only looking, of course, for his physical fitness at the moment. He's been out for a long time, but working really hard to get back to the levels he has to be to perform in games. And of course, the other issue is the contract he has. He's very positive about signing a new contract. We're doing our best to get Morales signed a new contract as well. So hopefully in the next coming weeks we will sort it out. But still the talks are going.
Mark, that exclusive there with Sky Sports Scotland. Yep, that's looks as though the deal is almost signed.
Well, I mean, one thing that we do know about Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, Paul, and it's a case with all managers, to be fair, they're quite guarded when it comes to contracts. They don't want to give too much away. They don't want to build people's hopes up, and then the rug gets pulled under their feet, or it weakens their negotiating table position when they're around the table. But for Giovanni to come out and say that about Alfredo Morales suggests to me that it's as good as done. Otherwise, I don't think he'd have committed himself like that. I do know that Alfredo Morales has really enjoyed working under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and Roy Mackay. Roy Mackay speaks Spanish right away, so does Giovanni. So right away there's bonding there, and it's a chance for Alfredo Morales possibly to go and play in the Champions League if Rangers can get through these qualifiers. Going by what Giovanni says as well, if Rangers can get past Union SG in the next couple of weeks, then Morelos should be available for the final playoff round. So very positive for Morelos. But I think you're at that stage with Morelos, Paul, that he either signs a new deal or you sell him in August, because again he's too big an asset to leave, to let him go for nothing this time next year. And maybe Morelos will think, I'll take another year or two at Rangers, I'll fatten up my wage packet, and I'm putting myself in the window because I've not played for 3 or 4 months. Maybe the interest is not quite there that he would like. Maybe the calibre of team is not quite there that I like. Maybe they're not willing to pay the fee that Rangers would want to let him go at this time. So it maybe suits both parties to get something done in the next week or two. And
the cynic would say that must be the case, that they're not banging down the door, are they? No. Just, as far as we know.
And by the way, Rangers will be happy about that.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're going to keep a striker that's happy. Whereas if you've got a team that's willing to come in and pay 10 million quid from him or 12 million quid from, then he probably becomes an Aribo and a Bassi, and he's away, and rightly so, if he's only got a year to go in his deal. So no, it would suit all parties, and it would certainly just settle things down in terms of Morelos, particularly with these Champions League games coming up, Paul. They're game changers, 35 million quid, absolute game changers. So if you can have as much calm around the building, the training pitch every day, the better for all concerned. If you're just tuning in, it's Paul Cooney with Mark Guidi. We're on from 5 every evening, and we'll be with you all the way throughout this season. Really looking forward to it with Macklin Motors. Right, here's GVB in that exclusive with Sky Sports Scotland, speaking about the Champions League ambition.
Hopefully we can sign a new player this week, but my focus is fully on the Champions League, and we all know all the benefits it comes from reaching the group stage. Just the development of my players, for us as a team and club, and of course financially will bring us also a lot of finances into the club. So we have to see where we are at that moment. But our first aim is to win the games we have to play in Champions League and be in the group stage.
Fans are looking forward to the season so much. All fans. I was at Motherwell the other night. 7,000 were there. People disappointed, obviously, in the performance, but you can just sense it, isn't it? This time of year, no matter what the weather is, it's brilliant getting out to the football again, and we'd love to see the Scottish clubs do well in Europe. We'll talk about Celtic shortly. We'll talk about Motherwell because they face a tough one against Sligo Rovers on Thursday night. But what about Rangers? And how much will it mean for them if they can win the next 4 games?
And get into the Champions League, Paul, it's a game changer. I mean, genuinely, financially, for the club, it'll be the biggest payday in their history by a distance.
Even bigger than the Bassey money,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. For 50,000 Rangers supporters, it's a chance to get back in and see their team in the Champions League for the first time in more than a decade. And it's a chance for the current players to go and enhance their reputations, for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst to enhance his reputation even more. So it ticks a lot of boxes. But just for us in general, can you imagine having Celtic? I mean, it's brilliant that we've got Celtic, and no qualifiers, a stress-free pre-season in many ways, and the money in the bank, so they know how they've been able to operate during this window. So it's great that Celtic's going to be in it. But if Rangers are to join them, for Scotland to have 2 clubs in the Champions League, I remember it happening, Paul, 12 years ago or something, 13 years ago, and I didn't think it would ever happen again, to be perfectly honest. No, I didn't. Not having 2, and not having our top 2 clubs in it. So it would be absolutely brilliant. And Rangers have got a right good chance. Lessons will have been learned from this time last year when they failed against Malmo, but the European success that they've had under Giovanni from February to May, I think will stand them in good stead for the opposition they face.
And the man who did the damage against them, he was on loan at Malmo, as we know. Antonio Colak got the Rangers goal. That's his first goal.
Yeah.
The other afternoon, Rangers Spurs started really well from the highlights I saw. Rangers had a good period of domination. Colak got the goal, but then a double from Harry Kane.
Yeah.
And but Rangers, I think, what do you feel about that preparation?
It was good. I mean, I think you go back to last midweek against West Ham. Tom Lawrence scoring, Ravi Matondo scoring, so getting off the mark, which is always good. And then Colak getting a goal. So there's 3 of the new signings already off the mark, albeit it's only friendly games. But I think there's good signs there. And listen, you've got to remember, Antonio Conte and Spurs, they're a quality team. I know they're a week to 10 days behind us, but you've got one of the best strikers in the world in Harry Kane. If Spurs had to put him up for sale tomorrow, you'd have 3 or 4 clubs willing to pay 80 or 90 million for him, no problem. So he's a top striker and he can cause damage to any defence. But over the piece, and watching Giovanni on the telly today and listening to him tonight on Go, Paul, he sounds relaxed. He sounds in a good space about things. The good thing for him in many ways, Aribo and Bassey have been dealt with. He knows where he stands. He's not still hanging on, and he might lose him on Friday night or lose him on Monday night before they play Union SC. So he's got time to prepare. He's got Davis in. What will be interesting for me is the partnerships now that he decides to go for around the pitch. Obviously central defence is going to be a new partnership.
Exactly.
Centre midfield options, and up front, what's it going to be?
Well, people are loving Rabi Matondo and Tom Lawrence, aren't they? The way they break forward. First of all, what about the speed of Matondo?
He's lightning
at the goal.
He's absolute lightning. He's I think he's probably he might be the fastest player in Scotland. With interesting race every club puts forward.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Fastest one, but they say his pace is properly frightening. And what he has to improve on, and that's something that the coaching staff will work on Rangers, is his final ball. What he does once he beats the defender. Just lifting your head a bit more, picking the right pass, putting the ball into an area that's going to hurt opposition defences. Well, that will come. He's still young, but first of all, when you've got pace, that's not something you can teach. So you've got that pace. What a start it gives you. And I think he'll do very well for Rangers.
Rabi, there'll be a few chants about Rabi, won't there? Yeah, can't think what they are. What about Tom Lawrence? The Rangers fans, I spoke to Connor this morning, big Rangers fan who was there, and he loved the look of Tom Lawrence, and he thinks in a free transfer he could be the signing of the close season.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good pedigree. He's had time with Derby, and it was troubled times at Derby, obviously with them getting into administration, and then having to go down the league because of the points deduction. But again, he's a quality player, scoring against West Ham. When you can get guys like that, Paul, on a free transfer, it makes sense. Yeah, the wage will be hefty. He'll be on a right good salary, which is fair enough. But to pick up players like that, that's what you've got to do. You can spend money on players like they've done with Davis and Cholak and Yilmaz that you've just brought tonight. But then you've got to pepper it as well. Because you can't spend money on everybody, so you pepper it, and that's your recruitment staff and your contacts come into play to help you out.
Overall then, who is going to be the number one goalkeeper? Here is the manager, asked the question today by Sky Sports.
Well, I will have, yeah, but it's been good to see all the goalkeepers work hard. Alan signing a new deal, so I'm really happy that he stayed with us for another year. And Saturday we will start with the strongest team possible for that moment, and also with the goalkeeper.
Saturday we'll start with our strongest team possible, is what he said. Does that answer it? Will we find out at 1:45 kick-off time?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, Saturday's the first competitive game of the season, and then you're getting right into Tuesday night in Belgium. So for me, I would imagine he would want to play strongest starting 11 on Saturday with a view to taking that into Tuesday. And obviously make some changes if you're winning the game.
And who do you think the goalkeeper's going to be?
For me, it's got to be Callum Mcgregor. I mean,
Why?
Experience and ability. Now, I've not seen him in pre-season. One of the things that Giovanni said as well, he'll consult with his goalkeeping coach and take his opinion into account. But going by what I know about both goalkeepers, then for me it's Callum Mcgregor all day long.
He made some great saves against Harry Kane and Son and so on. Saturday it could have been a wider margin.
I'd be shocked if it's not.
Okay.
Callum McGregor.
Is there a chance because it's the artificial surface though? It could be John McLaughlin on Saturday.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that you want to. I mean, I think one of the problems for me this time last year, Paul, was that Rangers rotated their goalies. And I know that Callum McGregor's maybe feeling something in his back, possibly, but I don't think that did his sharpness any good. So I think now Callum McGregor will just want to get into a rhythm. Now, if he needs to take a break after the game against Celtic, fine or whatever. But I think just now you want Callum McGregor building up a relationship with his back four, because it's going to be a new central defensive partnership, possibly a new left back as well. So you want your goalie in there building up a relationship as quickly as possible, and that starts on Saturday.
That was the breaking news just after 5. Ridvan Yilmaz, he's in. It's around about a £6 million deal. Rangers wouldn't say what the contract actually is, but a 5-year deal did we say just after 5? It's signed, sealed, delivered. For you, Mark Guidi, who's the central defensive partnership? If they're all fit, is it Goldson, Anfield? I'll let you answer it rather than me.
But Paul, I think it's 2 from 3. It's Suter, Goldson and Davis. In fact, it's probably 1 from 2. It'll be Goldson and one other.
So he's
Davis and Suter. I think now there's the option of going to the back 3.
Yep.
The managers played the back 3 before. A lot of them like this 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-1-2 as well. So maybe we'll see. Can I see Suter, Goldson and Davis being a back 3? Absolutely. I can see that. But Goldson and one other. See how Davis shapes it. Probably at the moment, Suter's been in the building longer.
Has done nothing wrong.
No, done not. So maybe Suter's in the driving seat at the moment. But I don't think Ben Davis is coming to Rangers to be a substitute, and I don't think Rangers are paying the guts of £4 million for somebody to be a substitute either, albeit it's a squad game. But I wonder if he's edging towards a back 3, Paul.
Possibly. We'll talk about that next, but we'll also speak about Celtic after their win at the weekend and undefeated in 6 games. We know it's pre-season, but a more than decent start for Ange Postecoglou. That's coming up next.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go!
Thanks, Chris, for the traffic and travel. The Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors. Paul Cooney here with Mark Guidi. Tomorrow night we'll be on air. Rob will be here with Stephen Craigan. I saw him in action at the weekend at the Premier Sports Cup. Been non-stop football, hasn't it? And the draw came out yesterday afternoon. The headlines today just after 5 is that Rangers will play Queen of the South on Tuesday the 30th of August, 7:45 kick-off, and then 24 hours later the cup holders Celtic up at Ross County. A bit of a journey, Mark, but at least it's in summertime.
Midweek up in Dingwall won't be an easy tie. Malcolm Mackay's side of a couple of good results.
6 yesterday the other day.
And the League Cup against East Fife. And of course Celtic are up there, the second league game of the season. They're up to Dingwall. They're at home to Aberdeen on Sunday and up at Dingwall on the Saturday. So like we say, Paul, for Celtic and Rangers, the games come thick and fast, and you know, I think I certainly expected it to be closer than what it was last season. You know, I think Celtic won by a more comfortable margin than what I expected. But I do think this season it is going to be really, really tight. I think both clubs have recruited. Well, I know there's still 5 weeks of the window to go, but at this moment in time, they've recruited, you know, very, very well. Both squads are looking the part, and I think we always used to say this, Paul, over the years, but it might not be more true than this season, that the 12 points in the 4 fixtures, you know, probably going to, I think, could well decide the destination of the title.
Is that your way of saying at the moment it's too close to call? I'm not asking you to call today anyway.
It's very close. Yeah.
Which squad is stronger at the moment on the 25th of July?
I think at the moment you'd have to, because I've not kicked a competitive ball, I think at the moment you'd have to say the champions, because of the champions. Not the champions for nothing, they're the champions because of the best team. They've lost Tom Rogic, which, you know, wasn't ideal for them, but he's gone, and they've not really lost anybody of great significance. Okay, Near Beaton's away, who was a good servant, but he wasn't a regular every week. Rangers have lost Bashi and Aribo, who were pivotal to what happened under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. So are the replacements going to be better than what they are? They're going to settle in. That's all things that we'll find out. So I think both squads are very, very strong, but right now you would have to say, because of the champions, because they're more settled, because they won the league, you would say, for me, it's Celtic at the moment.
I think that's very fair. So what about Ange Postecoglou? Joe Hart has revealed after the game yesterday that Ange has said to them, and he says to them before games, why not make this game that you're about to play the best game you've ever played? It's simple, yes, inspirational, motivational. Mark, have you heard that kind of talk from a manager before, and what do you think of it?
I think it's great. I mean, it is simple, Paul, but sometimes just those wee simple messages, you know, just before you leave the dressing room, whether it's at 5-3 or whether it's at 5-4 for the start of the second half, you know, it's important, and it just plants a seed in your brain, you know. And sometimes those wee short, sharp messages are the ones that really hit home the most. So yeah, it is simple, it is straightforward, it's not rocket science, but it is very, very important. And it, you know, psychologically, from a man management point of view, as Joe Hart has alluded to there, it's bang on.
And what do you think the Celtic backline is going to look like this season? We know they've, you know, he's bought more players in. He's got cover in every position. I see Moritz played for a time at the weekend. Christopher Julian, and you know, the perceived wisdom is he'll be leaving. But my goodness, when you see the quality, when you see those two in the pitch together, it's Carl Starfelt was much criticised last season. But I know that they've got the best defensive record in the league. It's quite a conundrum, isn't it? But it's a positive one, I guess, for the manager.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would say, you know, we know that Ange Postecoglou likes a back four, so he's not going to waver from that. So I would say it's Carter Vickers and one other.
Yes.
Now for me, I think Starfelt improved. It grew on me, but I think for the game that Postecoglou insists that Celtic play, well, it's always about possession and passing. You know, even in the tightest of areas, under the most severe pressure, you've still got to pass to your teammate. You're not allowed to put it into your own head. I don't think that suits Starfelt. You know, when I see him playing, Paul, he seems to present the opposition with chances in a lot of games. So therefore I would be looking for another partner for Carter Vickers. The Julian thing's really interesting. You know, I've heard a few Celtic supporters who've been at their games to say, you know, he's looking the part again, and I just wonder if he's grown on the manager. He was due to leave 10 days or so ago, and it fell through, so you wonder. And then Moritz coming in, he came off the bench, had a couple of good tackles, good positional play. So I think it'll be Carter Vickers and one other, and I don't think it'll be Starfelt.
You don't?
No.
Davy Provan, if he's listening in Spain, will be pleased to hear that, only because he said, I just don't think he's quite good enough at the highest level. He's
good, Paul, but I think for the type of game that Postecoglou wants to play, you know, I would say that the weakest part of his game that I can see is his distribution, and that's an important part of how Postecoglou wants to play.
We're on the socials, of course, at Go Football Show. Here's something that came in from Greg, who said, yes, Celtic played really well. They dominated the game against Norwich 2-0. Hatate, really good, he said. Mcgregor, his usual, which is a fantastic compliment, isn't it? Kyogo, not his usual. Maeda, really good. And in Julian and Moritz, Celtic have the most handsome central defensive partnership in world football. I think that was his joke at the end there, but those two. Kyogo, not quite as usual. Reason to worry about it yet, or is it just going to be time for him to get fully fit and
I mean,
you've
speed? Kyogo, he knows the drill, Paul. You know, he knows the the culture now. He knows his teammates. He's settled in. You know, Celtic know what they're going to get from him, and that's a quality player. And you've got, you know, Giakoumakis as well, who had, you know, some outstanding finishes. I think actually Giakoumakis' contribution, it got overlooked because of the explosive nature in which you know, Kyogo burst onto the scene. But you actually assess Giakoumakis over the period when he came back from injury. He was brilliant. You know, really good for Celtic. You know, led the line very well at the start of February when Celtic beat Rangers 3-0. You know, he really did lead the line well. And you look at the quality of some of his finishes. What a finisher he is. I mean, he is tip top for 2.5-3 million quid, whatever it was. Then he's an outstanding piece of business. So no, I don't have any major concerns about Celtic in the number 9 area, whether it's Kyogo, Giakoumakis, whatever. No concerns at all.
And he led the line well for much of the game on Saturday. The depth of squad at Rangers and Celtic is absolutely massive. Maeda getting one of the Celtic goals, and David Turnbull the other. We got a chance to see Moy as well, you know, further back. What did you make of him? I know it's a friendly. But
Paul, again,
quite assured.
Like I've said, you know, about Tom Lawrence, or you know, when you can get somebody like that in a free transfer, Paul, it's good business. You know, look, even if it's only for a year, you know, if he's coming in, it's a position that they've tried to fill. They were maybe unsuccessful with 1 or 2 attempts elsewhere, and they've decided, okay, do you know what, Aaron Moy's there, he's available, the manager knows him, he knows the manager, he knows Scotland. I think his wife and his partner's Scottish, so there's no problems with settling in. They're relocating. So you look at all that, it ticks a lot of boxes. He's what, 32? 31.
Yep.
So I mean, you could arguably say he's got his best 2 years of his career ahead of him. So no, I think Moy on a free transfer is a superb piece of business.
The transfer window is open for quite some time. We know that till the end of August. But there will be activity. You mentioned earlier in the programme, GVB and AP will both want to move some players on in the coming weeks. So there's news today that Standard Liège, they want Mikey Johnson. Of course, the Ronnie Dyla you know, connection there as well.
Course.
Would be good for him, probably, wouldn't it?
I think you know, I think when you look at the options that Celtic have and the sort of re-emergence of James Forrest, again, I can see Mikey Johnson being one of the ones that Celtic would probably say, look, go out and loan, or maybe, you know, a permanent move. And I think at this stage of his career, I think that's exactly what Mikey Johnson needs. And the standard in the Belgian league's good, Paul. You know, a lot of boys have gone over there and played well. You know, it gets a lot of publicity. Obviously, the Belgium national team, etc., etc.
Still one of the best in the world.
So if that's true, and I would imagine there certainly would be a lot of substance to that story, then I think that'd be a good one for Mikey Johnson.
And on the continent as well, Toulouse are reported to have inquired about Stephen Welsh for a loan. I know he signed a new deal with Celtic just 4 or 5 months ago. But the word is that they want to keep him just now, keep the options.
Well, again, that's maybe one where that might depend possibly on what happens with Julian. So they might now be edging towards, actually, should we be keeping Julian? Is he actually got the makings of a partnership with Carter Vickers? So does that make Stephen Welsh dispensable? So that's one that can maybe run for another couple of weeks. But if Julian's, I think one of them goes, Paul. So it's either Julian or Stephen Welsh. And again, if it's Stephen Welsh, you get a chance to go to France. I think it's brilliant. We're just talking about Mikey Johnson there. Seen a lot of our Scottish players heading abroad. I love to see it. You know, Lewis Ferguson, Josh Doig, all the boys. I think it's absolutely brilliant for their careers and just for their lives in general.
They're all there. As one of our friends says, they're all there. On the continent.
You know, to get the chance to go and do that, if you get a chance to go and play in League One, why not?
What about Callum McGregor? His usual game, isn't he? He's a phenomenal captain.
Yes, he's been brilliant. You know, very, very early on from his tenure in the captaincy, people stopped talking about Scott Brown, and that's the biggest compliment you could play him. You know, he took over a guy who wore the armband for 7 or 8 years, who's one of the most successful, most decorated players in Celtic's history. Led the club to 9 in a row, etc., etc., etc. And Callum McGregor, the transition has been seamless, and he deserves a hell of a lot of credit, not only for what he does on the park, but off the park as well, because he had to help bring stability into that dressing room this time last year when it was pretty chaotic around the whole football club. He then had to forge a link between the manager and the dressing room, building up a relationship with his manager, which is so important. So credit to Callum McGregor. He's matured beautifully well at Celtic Park.
It's going to be some season. Dean Smith, the Norwich manager, had such great success at Aston Villa. Of course, he took them up and kept them up for a long time in the top league. He was saying that Celtic would be comfortable in the Premier League in England. And when you look at Rangers' performance against West Ham and then against Tottenham, then do you think both clubs now, if they moved there today, how would they fare in England?
They would be, comfortable. I don't think they would be, bottom 3, bottom 4. I could see them being, 10th to 14th, whatever. And then obviously the riches would kick in, Paul. So they'd be looking at a different level of player because of the money that would be at their disposal. 60,000 at Celtic Park every week, 50,000 at Ibrox, and all that money as well. So I think, listen, they couldn't take their eye off the ball. They couldn't be complacent, because we've seen big clubs. Newcastle have been down a couple of times. Aston Villa have been down. So just because you're a big club doesn't guarantee anything. But I would imagine Celtic and Rangers, I don't necessarily see them being top 4 in the first 5 years, but certainly I don't see them being bottom 4 either.
And when these big clubs come to Scotland, I think they are maybe not overawed, but they are often amazed. They've heard about Ibrox, they've heard about Celtic Park, but these are two special football grounds, aren't they? More than football grounds. It's a phenomenal atmosphere. Yeah,
it is, and that's why it would be great to have both in the Champions League from September to November in the coming months. And as I say, just hearing the Champions League theme music, Paul, it's been a few years since we've heard it.
Can you hum it for us, or maybe not? But we'll play it. We'll be playing it. Well done.
It's brilliant, but it gets you.
The old Zadok.
It gets you going. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
It certainly does. We mentioned there are more than football grounds, which East End Park was at the weekend. It was Stephen's wedding celebration, so well done. Congratulations, Stephen, at East End Park in one of the suites at the weekend. So I know there was a great celebration through there, because the football grounds are so important to people. If it's your local club or one of the big two, or it's
the lifeblood.
It's more than a game, isn't it? It's true.
They are. I mean, you could see it at Motherwell at First Park the other night. There,
yeah.
And
the McGinns were all there.
The community, the families, and even to the people that work at the club. It's not just about the 11 guys who take the field and the manager. It's about everybody behind the scenes who makes a contribution to making a season successful. Whether that's winning a cup, getting to a final, avoiding relegation, winning a league, or getting into Europe, as Motherwell have got, as the United will have, and Celtic Rangers obviously coming up in Hearts too. So it's everybody inside a football club that does their bit to help bring success.
We're going to talk about that in the next session, but let's hear a bit more from Giovanni van Bronckhorst, speaking exclusively to Sky Sports Scotland today. How does he feel then about the pre-season tour they've had, and also the games back at Ibrox?
Well, I think it's always good to start for 5-6 weeks in the beginning of the season, to start with the group and train really hard every week, many sessions in a row. I mean, we haven't had that since we came here, because of all the games we had to play, so that's good. We lost some players in the window, and we bought some players in the window. So I'm really happy with the squad at the moment. Everyone is working hard to be ready for Saturday, and then all the games that we have to play after that.
Yeah, plenty of games coming up. We touched on Morales earlier. He's speaking now about his fitness.
At the moment he's training, big parts of the session he's training with us, so that's a good sign. He looks every session he looks better and sharper, so we're monitoring his development really closely in the next coming weeks, because of course when he's fit, he's one option for me up front as well, which we all know his qualities. So I'd rather have him back quick as possible.
And Mark, that's one of the headlines on the telly at the moment, isn't it? Morales is positive about signing. It's not done yet, but it looks as Barry Ferguson said 2 weeks ago.
He did.
In here with you and me.
He did.
Yep.
Barry broke the story.
He's going to stay.
Yeah,
look out for that.
Barry broke the story on Go Radio, and Giovanni van Bronckhorst has confirmed it. And I would say that again, Paul, just to reiterate it, Giovanni van Bronckhorst, all managers, they're guarded. They know what they're allowed to say, what they're not allowed to say. And for Giovanni to come out and say that says to me that the deal, an extension for Morelos is as good as done.
And what about Ryan Kent? He was the other player at that time mentioned, and Barry thought they might both stay. He said especially Morelos, but is there a bid for?
Yeah, well,
for Kent?
If they're dealing with Morelos just now, I think Tavernier as well is as good as over the line, isn't it? So there have been negotiations with the captain. Obviously they've been working hard and bringing in 5, 6, 7 new signings, and then doing deals for players to go out the door as well. So it sounds easy, go and get a player to sign a new deal or whatever. So maybe Kent is not maybe Kent's next on the list. And again, I think Kent's in the same boat as Morelos. Paul, you've got to ascertain, do you want to stay? Do you want to sign a deal? If you don't, we really need to look very, very closely at selling you in the next 5 weeks, because again, that's an asset that you know, it's hard to judge what Kent would be worth a year to go on his deal, Paul. 10 million. You know, this time last year we were talking about 20. He's down to a year now. He had a good season last season. I don't think he had a great season.
And
I
only
think
3
he should have
goals.
delivered more, to be honest. But he's still got a good reputation. He's still a quality player. But again, it's up to the Rangers hierarchy to find out, do you want to stay? If you do, I think great. It's a no-brainer. They would get him signed up in a heartbeat. But if he doesn't, then you've got to look close at the possibility of cashing in on him.
Quick break and then we're back on the day that Rangers have made another signing from Besiktas. That's coming next.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go!
Paul Cooney and Mark Guidi, as the Rangers at 5 today announced that they've signed the Turkish international Rıdvan Yılmaz, a 5-year deal from Besiktas, left back, and a bit more for Rangers, as Celtic have done both of them now. Strong squads.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, Barisic is a quality player, Paul. They've decided to bring in Yilmaz. So again, where does that leave Barisic? You've got to carry you've got to carry 2 players for every position. That's the way it is at Celtic. That's the way it is at Rangers, because they'll both be involved in European football as well as domestically,
and both internationals as well.
And again, Paul's big prize money. Big prize money all the time. That's why the managers are demanding strong squads. That's why they're looking at players at the calibre of Yilmaz, in that price bracket. And you think as well, it'll be a good weekly wage that he's coming for. So you look at it, there'll be millions and millions involved in that deal. So Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was really keen to get it over the line. Remember, Giovanni was a world class left back himself, so he knows that position well. Captain Holland as a left back in the World Cup final in 2010 in South Africa for Barcelona as well. So he knows a left back when he sees one, and that's why he's been so keen to get Yilmaz in the door.
World class. This programme is scripted. I know it doesn't sound it, but this day 25 years ago, quarter of a century, Celtic made a signing, one of the most significant ever in the history of the club, and you were there.
And Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's best pal,
of course.
Henrik Larsson were best buddies at
Henrik,
Feyenoord.
25 can you believe it?
I was there.
Where
Paul.
were you?
Yeah, I was there the day that Henrik got paraded, and again there was a real flurry of transfer activity. Stefan Mahe, Craig Burley, Jonathan Gould, Reggie Blinker coming in, Di Canio leaving, Cadetti leaving,
the Amigos leaving,
Mark Reaper coming in. There was so many. But yeah, I mean, I remember that day well. Henrik sitting with his dreadlocks. There was a sort of protracted situation with his court case and the release fee and his contract with Feyenoord. But listen, nobody could have thought that he would give 7 years outstanding service, 242 goals, then go on and win the Champions League with Barca. I remember I'm telling me, he had 28 offers when he left Celtic.
Really?
28 offers
when he left Celtic.
Yeah, he was obviously in a free transfer.
Sure.
And he was at the Euros in 2004 in Portugal, and I was there. I remember meeting him one day to give him the Sunday Mail Star Check Player of the Year award, trophy to get. And so met him at the tuning up. Anyway, long story short, he said he told me his wife had been on the phone to say that Barcelona want you, and he said to her, "Oh, good." He says, "But I'm preparing for Sweden's game." He says, "Tell me to wait 48 hours. I can't get involved in this to prepare for Sweden's game." She says, "Well, you can't tell Barcelona to wait." He says, "Well, you deal with it then." So his wife went and get the ball rolling with Barcelona. So 28 offers, and remember getting to see Martin O'Neill the year before it to say, "Look, I'm definitely leaving. I'll see you this year. I'm going." And Martin O'Neill trying everything in his power to get, as everybody wanted at Celtic to keep him. But for 650 grand, Paul, absolutely outstanding piece of business.
And he was introduced there by the club at the time and said, "Oh, he knows all this stuff about the history of the club." But I think he was honest, wasn't he? I do remember that.
Yeah, he just said, "No, I don't know much. I'll learn." He said, "But at the moment, no. It's just about finding my feet, getting into the team." And of course, he gets blamed for Celtic losing on the opening day of the season at Easter Road to Jim Duffy's at Burnley. But he kicked on, and I think you look at some of the goals that he scored, but the one when Celtic stopped 10 in a row at home to St Johnstone that day, the opening goal inside 5 minutes just settled everybody down. It was a quality finish as well.
Was indeed, yeah, because it was touch and go for quite a time in that game, wasn't it? Because Rangers were playing up at Dundee United,
and Jonathan Gould did one, if not two brilliant saves that afternoon against St Johnstone when the score was 1-0.
And then Harold Bratback, he sealed it, didn't we?
Harold did.
He certainly did. Yeah, remembering Henrik Larsson, the greatest Celtic player, certainly of the last quarter of a century. He'd be up there along with Dalglish.
Dalglish, Johnson,
Jimmy Johnson,
Billy McNeil, Paul McStayes, all the guys in the last 40, 50 years. There's been some truly fabulous players at Celtic.
We were lucky to live in those times, weren't we? And lots of our listeners too. And then you'll see Barry here back, in a few days' time. He'd then be saying about Rangers with Laudrup and Gascoigne and the De Boers and Newmans. We've been blessed. But this could be a great time as well, because we finished the old season with both ends of the town fairly happy. Rangers getting to a Europa League final, just pipped, just missing out in the penalties, then winning the cup a few days later, because that could have gone horribly wrong for Rangers, but it didn't. Celtic getting the first tournament, the Premier Sports Cup, now under pressure from people like Lee Johnson. He's out of the tournament, but the League Cup, and then winning the league as well. So both ends of the town happy. Yeah,
which is unusual. I think when you reflect, both managers can be very, very satisfied with their season. I think particularly Ange Postecoglou, because you're winning the title, you're guaranteed. It was the richest title in Scottish football history, and you're right into the Champions League. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst took over in November when Rangers were top of the table, didn't win the league, but you think of the nights that he gave Rangers. You think of the Borussia Dortmund, you think of Braga, Red Star, the drama. The trips, the final and Seville coming so close. And then, by the way, Paul, it was a big ask to go and recover from that defeat in that heat, 120 minutes, and the disappointment of losing a final in Peter Kits, to go and, convincingly beat Hearts. I know it went the extra time, but it was convincing, the performance and the victory. There was a lot of pressure on the manager that afternoon. So, listen, it was great. And as I've said many times, Paul, first and foremost, great for the two guys, the two managers, Postecoglou and Van Bronckhorst, because they're both first-class human beings, and that should be rewarded and talked about more than anything.
Will both sides be happy by the end of the season? Well, we'll discuss it.
I can't see it for two years in a row, Paul.
Well, James Tavernier, who looks as though he's going to sign a new long-term contract, the club captain, says he's pledging to do everything to reclaim what he described as their title. And for Celtic, having raised the bar so high in 12 months, less than 12 months, Ange Postecoglou wants even more.
And it starts this weekend. Rangers, you would see on paper, get the tougher tie, get away from home. Celtic home to Aberdeen. Sometimes when you're unfurling the flag in front of your own crowd, first game of the season, can be a wee bit nervy.
Aberdeen good form at the weekend.
Jim Goodwin, delighted for Jim. It's early days, but they were convincing. In the League Cup, 4 games played, 12, 13 goals scored, none conceded. And the spotlight was very much on Jim for the wrong reasons, but he's got it going there. He's made some bold and brave decisions about people he's decided to leave or discard. He's also played a part, albeit more down to Derek McInnes, but you think Lewis Ferguson and Calvin Ramsey, he's played a part in their development and getting them going. He's helped bring in £7 million into the club, and I'm really pleased for Jim Goodwin, because he's also just first and foremost a right good guy.
And he's changed the dugouts as well. Have you seen that? He's turned them round. He's changed. So they're now what was the away dugout. Right. And he's found a new striker, Miofsky, who scored yesterday the penalty. Ross McCrory scored, and Johnny Hayes. So listen, there was so much football at the weekend. We'll run out of time talking about them all. What about Motherwell then? So they lost 1-0 the other night to Sligo Rovers. They could turn it round. I wonder if they will. Do you think they will over there in the west of Ireland?
Tough one, Paul. Realise I wasn't at the game, so I don't know, over the 90 minutes. But I do remember saying that like Sligo will be tough customers. League Island's improved. A lot of the teams there,
and they're mid-season,
get better. So they're in a flow, they're in a rhythm. But look, going away from home, you could say Motherwell have got nothing to lose, because probably very few people would expect them to go through. Maybe a wee bit more pressure on Sligo. What do they do? They're 1-up. Do they sit back? Do they try and defend their lead? Or what does? That's a lot to take in. I wouldn't rule Motherwell out, but very, very difficult to see them getting through.
And you can see that Van Veen wasn't fully fit. I don't think he was, but we'd love to see Motherwell, because we don't want the Scottish teams going out right away.
You want Hearts are going to win it regardless. We're wanting Dundee United, we're wanting Motherwell, and we want Celtic and Rangers in the Champions League. So Imagine if we, come the start of September, the end of August, we've got 5 teams playing in European football between now and November. It'd be absolutely fabulous for the country.
How's the passport? Right up to date, are you? Ready to travel for us?
It's all there, Paul. It's all there if needed.
Our roving reporter, Mark Goody. Yeah, we're going to be there all the way. I need to ask you about Lee Johnson before we go. What about his comments about the League Cup, the Premier Sports Cup? I can understand in some ways. I mean, Peter Grant said it comes too soon for some managers because you're up against it immediately in what should be still pre-season time. Is it fair? I know I asked you about it a couple of weeks ago. Do you have some sympathy with his comments?
Yeah, I mean, I can see where he's coming from, but I also see the other side, and a part of me thinks that it's good that players are getting competitive football. Now, ideally, you would have 3 or 4 friendlies in into the League Cup, even if it is starting early. But look, you know the drill, Paul. It's not that it's foisted on you with 3 days' notice. You know it's coming. You know what your prep's going to be. You know when to get the players in. That's why they want players in quickly as possible. I do have a bit of sympathy, but
not much
over the piece. No, just not saying genuinely. Just crack on with it. You know the schedule. You know what it is. You're a big club. You're full time. Go and get on with it and produce the goods. If you don't, then you've just got to do better when the league starts.
Ange Postecoglou promising more signings for Celtic fans. We don't think there can be many. Where does he need to strengthen?
An interesting one. I don't see anything obvious. I don't see anything jumping out at me. I don't expect anybody to leave that you would consider a first team proper starter. We've
heard about the Juranovic thing, sorry, but it's gone quiet now.
Matt O'Reilly, bit of speculation with Leicester as well.
You wouldn't want to lose him, would you?
No, absolutely not. No chance of that one.
Nor Juranovic. But
no, wouldn't think so. So look, there's probably something there that you think the data and the analytics and how closely they look at things, right into so they maybe think that where can we improve? And if we can improve, let's go and get somebody. Let's go and get somebody that can improve the team. And if that person becomes available, then they'll go for them. They've got money there, Paul. I mean, we're speaking about the 35 million that's coming in. You look at Celtic's balance sheet over the last 12 months or so, there'll be 20 odd million quid up. Remember Frimpongs and Edwards and Ayers and
Christie,
all that. So you think about it, there'll be a healthy balance sheet. A massive wage bill, don't get me wrong, but a healthy balance sheet of the club. If Ange Postecoglou sees somebody that he really wants, he would want the board to back him, and I'd be very surprised if they didn't.
Final word from GVB in that exclusive interview today with Sky Sports Scotland, talking about the thing that Rangers fans want to know about, what's going to happen in the League Challenge.
Well, I think we have to have the consistency to win every game. Of course, the old firm games are, as of last year, very close, and but of course we want to be champions next year, and that's as I said, we have to win every game, every week, and that's our aim. We have to work hard for that because of all the European games and cup games in between, but we cannot lose too many points as we did last year.
He's focusing on what you were saying, these 4 old firm games, the Glasgow Derby, crucial.
They are, and they had that blip during the season, Paul. I think 4 away games in a row where they dropped points, so that's a lesson to be learned for the players and for the manager. But yeah, I mean, you think back to the game that pretty much clinched the title for Celtic, the 2-1 win at Ibrox, but Rangers were 1 up, started in fire, but then Callum McGregor got himself into the game and started to impose himself and led Celtic to victory. But let's just say that had finished a draw, totally different complexion going into the split. You're taking 2 points away from Rangers and giving set away for Celtic and giving Rangers 1 extra point. So it just shows that 1 goal changed the whole complexion. But it just makes, Paul, we're into the week now, the build up, and I'm so looking forward to it. It's going to be a cracker.
Mark Guidi will give us his predictions for the season ahead on Friday. Rob will be here tomorrow night with Stephen Craigan, and then I'll see you on Wednesday live at 5.
Service your existing car with us right now,
and it's worth £500 off your next car.
Yes, at Macklin Motors Toyota, we'll give you a £500 voucher off any of our brand new Toyotas when you book in for a service with our expert Toyota trained technicians.
We even have complimentary courtesy cars available, so book your service now and get £500 off any new Toyota.
Visit macklinmotors.co.uk or see us at Kennishead Road, Darnley.
Macklin Motors, the new name for Toyota sales and servicing in Glasgow.
Valid on services till 30th September. Excludes Motability and fleet customers. One £500 voucher per vehicle purchased by 31st December.